All right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. This is Devon Johnson with the Lakers post-game show for the Showtime Forum Report. So glad to see another win, and not just another win, but tonight the Lakers hit their 40th win. Their 40th win. It's so good to see that. It's been a long time since we've had a record like this. In fact, it's been really more since like 2008, 2009. So you're talking like over a decade since we've been able to hit the 40 mark the way we have this early in the season. And the Lakers win 125-100 against the Suns. And tonight, there was another opportunity for us to blow a lead. But instead, they did not. Tonight, the Lakers stuck to their guns. They did exactly what they needed to do. They got LeBron rest. They got AD rest. They got Rajon Rondo rest. And we're going to talk about him later on. But it was all around. It was just a great night tonight. Of course, there were some moments that we looked at and just, kind of shook your head. But for the most part, everything that we saw was the Laker team that we want to see. Granted, it was against the Phoenix Suns, who were only 21-33. But with that being said, we've seen teams like the Suns take out certain teams. And we've seen them, surprise teams. And so we could have been a victim of that tonight. Going into the All-Star break, it's very easy to take your foot off the gas, especially when you're still number one seed in the Western Conference with a 2.5 game lead over the Nuggets, who won today as well. So being able to do what you need to do in the moments where, even if it's not a big deal record-wise from the other team, it's still good to make sure that you keep consistent with your winning ways. And now they won 4 out of 5. And we've had some struggles in the last month. Okay, we've had some struggles. We've had some losses. Of course, we had that 5-game road trip where it was just really up and down. Lost to the Celtics, lost to the 76ers, in an embarrassing fashion. And being able to come back home and even losing to the Rockets in their small ball setup tonight could have been the same thing. With DeAndre Ayton being out, it was very possible for the Lakers to have another issue with small ball. Of course. It doesn't really, it's not the same in the sense that Coach D'Antoni is a master of that system. And so Monty Williams, as good of a coach as he is, was not able to accentuate on having small ball lineups tonight. And really, just being honest, the Suns are nowhere near as talented as the Rockets or proven. There are a lot of young guys, a lot of high energy guys, but just haven't really learned and had the experience. So the Lakers did what they needed to do tonight with veteran leadership. And even with the refs calling a really, really weird game tonight. I mean, it was just, there were some moments where it's just you weren't sure what they were thinking, what the motive was, calling off baskets that should have been continuation plays. Just plenty of moments where it was just like it was so obvious to everybody, but they needed to review it, or not even review it at all, just make a really bad call. But the Lakers were able to sustain through that. LeBron James did a thing tonight that was pretty good. What you're going to see in the stat line is not going to look great, only 17 points on 6 of 16 shooting. But what's the most important part is that he only played 30 minutes tonight. And that is where the true stat is going to make a difference for this team. The fact that he only had to play 30 minutes tonight and he wasn't injured, but he was able to sit because the lead was so high and the bench did their role tonight is a big deal. What you don't want to see is that LeBron James had more turnovers tonight than he had the last game. We talked about that the other night, that he had 7 turnovers. Well, tonight he had 8 turnovers, and he actually matched his rebound total. He had 8 rebounds, 9 assists, and 17 points. He was literally 1 assist, 2 rebounds, and 2 turnovers away from having a quadruple double. And that's not what you want to see from your stars. And it's obvious that tonight he needed the rest. He's tired. Shooting 6 of 16, his shots are falling short. they're not reaching their goal. I mean, when he does hit, they hit. He is driving. He is being more assertive, but you're still seeing that it's taking its toll. And this All-Star break couldn't be coming at a better time. And I'm almost positive that when he plays his All-Star game, he's gonna play. He's gonna give the fans a show, but he's not gonna give his 100%. It's not even necessary to do that. I think LeBron's gonna just be LeBron for a little bit and make sure everybody's extendedly happy, and then walk away from it and be good. But for the most part, he did exactly what we needed him to do tonight in regards to assists. He almost had double digits assists again. But it's the turnovers. It's the turnovers, and the lack of scoring. It really shows you where his energy level is right now. And the idea is that right now you want him playing 30 minutes on games like this, because in the playoffs he's probably going to be playing 40 minutes. And when he's playing those amount of minutes in the playoffs and 7-game series, and they're going to be hard and rough, you want him to be as physically capable to handle those moments and to handle those minutes. So you got to make that preparation now by handling your business in these games. And it happened. And it only happened because of one man, and his name is Rajon Rondo. That man came back tonight with 23 points, 4 or 5 shooting tonight, 4 or 5 from 3-point, should I say, tonight. And was just, he shot 9 of 13 from the field, 4 or 5 from 3, and was just amazing. This is one of those few moments where you're looking and you're going, is this what we've been waiting on? Is this the playoff Rondo? Did he make an appearance tonight? We don't know. We really don't know. And this is the thing with this Laker team. On any given night, any one of these players can go for plus 20. You can have a Troy Daniels who can shoot for plus 20. You can have a Kuzma, for lack of a better, just idea. But you can even have Quinn Cook go for more than that. We've had a season high from Alex Caruso this year, who almost hit 20 points. I think he actually did hit 20 points. And so you have anybody who can really get hot. The idea is that, can we keep this consistent? To see Rondo be able to score 23 points and only have 1 turnover in that, and while having 6 assists. So he's scoring, he's dishing, and he's not turning it over. That's the Rondo that honestly we would love to see coming off the bench. It really would answer the problem of backup point guard on the offensive end. Of course, defensively, it's a whole other conversation. But being as it is, if he's able to play consistently like this, it would be great. The truth is that the Suns are not a great defensive team. And Rondo hit his shots. Obviously, he didn't. Not everything was wide open. He was able to hit stuff on the run and be able to get to the hoop and do what he had to do. His mid range was working tonight. But this is a good way to kind of get an idea of what is possible. Now, him being able to do this against elite teams, the Bucks, the Clippers, the Celtics, the 76ers, being able to do against those things, the Nuggets, being able to produce like that would be a tremendous help to the bench. Tonight, Kyle Kuzma only had 9 points, but he did it on 4 or 5 shooting, on 1 or 2 or 3 points, which is great. If Kyle Kuzma's not going to be aggressive, it's good to know that you could have a Rondo who's able to do that. Now, we've killed Rondo all year, and so I feel like on a moment like this is not dismissing all the things we've seen as a trend this entire season, but it is good to stop for a moment, pause, and celebrate that this is even possible for a man in his age and doing what he's doing. And we don't know if we're going to see this again. Is he going to go 4 or 5 from 3 again? Probably not. Is he going to score 23 points again? Probably not. Would it be great if he did? Absolutely. But the truth is, trend would tell you, analytics would tell you, this is more of a blip on the screen than it is a consistent trend. So another thing I want to get to real quick before I jump into your questions is there was an article that was put out by Mark Stein back in the day when he was doing power rankings by Phil Jackson, and he talked about how you as an elite team, Phil Jackson said, you want to get 40 before 20. In other words, you want to get 40 wins before you get 20 losses. Well, the Lakers have done that. They have 40 wins and 12 losses. And it looks like right now we are on pace to have a tremendous season as far as the record goes. But the reason why Phil Jackson said that is because he said it was a marker of elite teams. And when he said this was back right around when the Lakers were getting ready to go to their first finals post Shaq. And the Lakers had hit 40 wins for the first time since the Shaq era. And so he was giving a point that if your record can show a 40 and a 20 or 40 before 20, what you're really showing is that it's not necessarily how easy or how difficult your schedule is, but how consistent you are despite the schedule. And so even with the Lakers not doing trades, even with the Lakers not picking up anybody like a Marcus Morris, and then of course losing out on Darren Collison, they are still, with the current roster that you saw tonight, they are still 40-12. And that is something that we should stop for a moment, recognize, and celebrate. We're going to talk a lot about trades tonight, and I want to get to your guys' questions. So let's hop into it. Let's see who we got right now. James Michael, welcome to the show. Good to see you. So where do we go from here after Collison staying retired? And you already have an answer inside the chat. There's an answer from Hames, says Dion, and of course he's talking about Dion Waiters. There's a lot of different ideas. They're gonna do their due diligence of the people who are left. They're gonna talk to J.R. Smith tomorrow. They're gonna have their exploratory conversation with Dion Waiters, and none of these guys I would consider top level prospects, but it's the best of what you have left. And from the buyout market, the Lakers are gonna have the pick of the crop. Mainly because they have the space to add somebody in regards to time. They're going to cut somebody to make room, but they're going to, whoever signs with us is going to get some time because we need them to come in and fill in some time, and they're going to have an opportunity to get a championship. So all of those things combined really lend to the idea that if I'm in the buyout market and I'm number one trying to get my rep back up so I can get a contract next season, I want to be able to get a ring to add to my resume because nobody in the buyout market has a ring right now. And then being able to get playing time consistently, the Lakers can meet all of those needs essentially. And so I don't know who we're going to have, who we're going to pick, but there's going to be pluses and minuses for all of them. For if Mo Harkless gets bought out, plus and minus for that. Trey Burke, plus and minus for that. Dion Waiters, plus and minus for that. J.R. Smith. There's going to be positives and negatives that come with each one of these players. The idea is which one is going to be the best fit. And I believe Rob Pelinka and LeBron James and Anthony Davis will have discussions after these exploratory conversations and even possible workouts to find out who they think would fit best. Frank Vogel, of course, is going to have a voice in that as well. But the bottom line is this, is that we're going to add somebody. Okay, we're going to add somebody. So, and I think tonight Troy Daniels kind of showed that he's still, tonight and the night before, every time he gets put into the game, whether it's 4 minutes or 14 minutes, he's going to give you at least a 3. He's been very consistent with that. So I think Troy Daniels is going to stay on the team. I think Quinn Cook is probably going to be the one that goes. So that means that you would have essentially a roster of possibly a Dion Waiters instead of a Quinn Cook, possibly a Mo Harkless. But one thing that I do know is that a lot of people were calling for Rondo to be cut, but after tonight, I just don't think it's going to happen. I also think while it's a great thing, I do think it's slightly detrimental to the chemistry of the team in the sense that we all know that this is not a sustainable model for Rondo. Now, if he does this in the playoffs, like everybody is advertising that he will become, if that is the case, then this is worth it. Then we'll ride out all the problems if he can give us this during the playoffs. But we don't know because we haven't been to the playoffs in so long, and since he's been a Laker, he's never been to the playoffs with us, and so we don't know what's going to happen. But we'll find out. Horrible called game by the refs. Absolutely, this was one of those games where. I was glad that we won, and I was glad that we were so far ahead that the calls really didn't matter. But if this game had been close and they were calling it the way they were calling it, this would have been a writable offense. This would have been something that I would have written to the office, written to the commissioner and said, you have to get this checked out. The way they were refereeing tonight, and then you look back and combine it with what happened in Portland with Damian Lillard and that goaltend that wasn't called, and it was blatant. There's so many blatant calls that everybody, not just people on TV, with the fortune of having different perspectives of cameras. I'm talking about people in the arena, coaches, players, they're all seeing the same thing, but for some reason the refs are not. And I'm going to be honest, I don't recognize a lot of these faces. Generally, we all can look at some of these refs and we know, we remember the Joey Crawfords and stuff like that. We know, like, oh my God, this guy is going to be reffing the game, and we already know he's going to be. But these games lately doesn't look like we recognize these refs. So hopefully they get that together. And what's good about all of this is only the veteran refs get the reps in the playoffs. Okay. So you're not going to see a lot of these young guys or these new guys or these nameless guys, and no disrespect to them, I say nameless in the sense of we don't know who you are. These guys won't be reffing the playoffs, and that's what's going to be good. Veteran refs know how to call it. They know how to lay off a little bit. They're going to make mistakes too, but they're not going to be mistakes like what we saw tonight, where there were clear continuation plays that weren't called, or continuation plays that were called off. I haven't seen that in so many years. And then there were plenty of moments where the Lakers were getting called for ticky-tack fouls, and then on the other end, they were just getting destroyed and no calls. Anthony Davis, LeBron James, even Rondo. And there was a moment where Frank Vogel and LeBron James on the timeout pulled the refs to the side and just gave them the business, because you can't allow that kind of behavior to happen from the refs just because they have a whistle. We need to be protected, or we need to see the game called a certain way so that we can adjust our game plan to it. But when it seems like it's so one-sided, it doesn't work. Okay? Ariel Marcelli. I hope I'm saying that right. Ariel. LeBron is tired. Back-to-back-to-back, 7+ turnovers. Last 10 games, he's been struggling with his shot. Absolutely. I agree with you completely. LeBron is tired, and rightfully so. He has done a lot. He came out and, he was excited at the top of the season. He had been sitting out for so long since his injury last year. He finally had the player that he's been eyeing and been wanting with Anthony Davis. They put a good roster, and we started off strong. The truth is, this is around the time where most people get tired who aren't young. The Devin Bookers and the John Morants and all those guys, Lonzo, all those guys, they're still young. Their legs are still underneath them, and this is not going to hurt them. Okay, but for veterans like LeBron and even Dwight Howard and even Danny Green, this is going to be rough. Okay. And so when they get past the All-Star break, it'll be their breather moment, and then it'll be the job of the Lakers to do damage over the next month to build enough of a record to clinch the conference. And it's a close race right now. The Clippers were in second place right behind us. They just fell behind Denver Nuggets, and it's a half game. So it's so close in the race that 1 or 2 losses can cost you 3 or 4 spots in the playoff standings. But if we can get that and clinch it and allow our guys to get rest and say, forget the record, we're preparing for the playoffs, it'll be the best thing possible for LeBron, best thing possible for AD, and most of all, best thing possible for the Laker organization as they rest their veterans. All right, G, what's up with the disrespect from the refs for LeBron? I don't know. And it's been very consistent, but Laker fans are used to this. LeBron is probably just getting used to it, but this is what we dealt with Shaq. John Ireland always says the same phrase, and I do agree with it. Shaq was either committing a foul or had a foul committed against him every single time up and down the court. And this is the same thing with LeBron. LeBron is so big. He's running point. So the thing that's hard for most people to understand is that LeBron really is running a true point guard position. He's not listed as the point guard. Avery Bradley's listed as the starting point guard. But Avery Bradley is off ball, as we have all seen. Avery Bradley's not playmaking. He's not doing any assists. None of that stuff. LeBron is doing all the facilitating. And when you have a point guard that big running your point, for the referees, they don't know how to call that. Because when you have a big in the paint and a smaller defender on them, they're really not going to call a foul because it's such a mismatch. But with LeBron, he drives to the middle of the paint, he brings defenders with him, and they collapse on him, and they foul him, but the refs are so used to him being a 4, they forget that this guy should not be getting fouled the way he's getting fouled. And they don't call it, and I don't know if it's just a LeBron-specific thing, or if it's just because he's so unique in his body type and his passing ability. But they really have to get that straightened out. New wins order. Bullying is a recipe for success. Got KCP, AB, and now Rondo for now to step up. Man, I'll never push. I understand what you're saying. I get what you're saying. I do a thing at the end of every post game where I tell all of us here, at Showtime Forum to get into those DMs, let them know how much we appreciate them. Good game or bad game, I call it spirit bombs, and you guys already know where that came from. But to send a whole bunch of positivity their way, just to get them, just to remind them that this is on to the next game. Even if we won this game the whole night, we believe in you, we're behind you. But the truth is that I think Rondo heard the slander. But I think he also got the green light from Frank Vogel tonight, because there's a lot of things that Rondo did tonight that were the antithesis of what he would normally do with LeBron on the floor. You got to remember, LeBron and Rondo played minutes together, not just a little bit. They played some significant minutes together tonight in the middle of that swap out between AD and Bron. And the way that Rondo was able to handle the ball with LeBron and give LeBron a break while being on the floor was tremendous. And I think Frank Vogel gave him the okay to say, listen, you don't have to necessarily look for the first pass. you're okay to score. They leave you open shooting. We saw that tonight. He was open 5 times from 3 and made 4 of those. And I'll take that any day of the week. And that was great. James Michael, LBJ doing in-game load management right now, probably next game as well. I don't know if it's in-game load management as much as it is that he's just tired, to be honest. I think the coaching staff knows it, but I also know that there's a stigma, there's a mindset that they're trying to stick with. LeBron has been writing Anthony Davis about playing through injuries and showing himself strong and defeating this narrative. And so there's a part of that is responsibility on LeBron that none of us are putting on him, but this is an internal thing that he has. Is that he doesn't want to show himself load managing. He doesn't want to show himself getting tired. None of those things. But his stats are showing it. His body language is showing it. He'll probably never say it. He might say it after the season, after we win a championship, and go, man, I was really tired during that stint of the season. But right now, he's not going to say it. And so he does need a rest. And I'm glad, like I said, the All-Star break is coming up when it is. Straight Savage. We need to clinch the number 1 spot at least 2 weeks before the postseason. And that's absolutely true. The truth is that our schedule gets real crazy in a minute. Which is not to say that we can't do it, but our schedule gets crazy, and the standings are so close. The standings are absolutely close. And right now, like I said, the Denver Nuggets are 2.5 games back. The Clippers are 3 games back. But look at the rest of these splits in the Western Conference, guys. This is really strange. So Denver Nuggets are 38-16. LA Clippers are 37-16, and part of that's because of our postponed game. Utah Jazz are 35-18. Houston Rockets are 33-20. Thunder are 32-21. So you're talking about 4 to 5 game splits here. That could be all it takes is a winning streak or a losing streak, and all of this gets jumbled up. So we're not in the position of the Bucks per se, who are 46-7 right now, and they have a 7-game streak lead above the Raptors, who won their 15th game tonight, and they're still 7 games behind. Okay, so we don't have that benefit to clinch with that much time. You're talking about 7 games is about 2 weeks. But for us, we probably won't clinch until probably the week of, unless something goes drastically wrong in the Western Conference. But the way teams are playing, and we're playing a lot of these teams coming up. We're playing the Nuggets. We're playing the Clippers again. Once, probably twice. I'm not sure how they're going to handle the postponed game. We're going to play the Rockets again. We're playing teams. We're done with the Dallas Mavericks, so that won't matter. But we're going to play the Grizzlies again. So, these are things that we have to think about in regards to in regards to when we clinch. Is that we have to get through this tough stretch first, and if we can maximize our opportunities during the tough stretch, then I think is going to maximize our opportunity to be efficient with LeBron and AD's rest come the back end of the season. James Michael, Dr. Brar is probably right. About me slapping out of the cue ball. Okay. Spain Terrell. Everyone, cut Rondo. Rondo, ask your mom about me. Listen, Rondo's not going to get cut regardless, guys. There's no way Rondo's getting cut. They're not going to cut a veteran. They're not going to cut somebody who has clear ties with Boogie, clear ties with AD, clear ties with LeBron. They're not going to cut him. They'll cut Quinn Cook, who they love, and they love that guy. But they'll cut him if it comes down to it. Was this Rondo performance a fluke? This is from Gary. Absolutely not. I don't think it was a fluke as much as it is he can turn it on. I think one of the things that came out of summer league and out of the preseason camps was that Rondo had dramatically improved his shooting, and we've seen it in spurts. The issue is really not so much Rondo's shooting, even though that's bad. It's his decision making before he shoots, and tonight, he was much more decisive, much more assertive, much more confident in his shots. He didn't second-guess himself. He wasn't waiting till the last second of the clock. He was being very aggressive when necessary. But for some reason, he doesn't always do that. And when he doesn't do that, it makes his performance look that bad because he doesn't offer anything defensively like he used to. He used to be an all-defensive player. But now he no longer is that person, hasn't been that person for a while. So offense and being able to play make is kind of his bread and butter. And so him not being able to do that, coinciding with the idea that he can't play defense, really makes him useless on the court, and which is why his plus minus is so horrible when LeBron is off the floor and he's on there. But tonight, I think there was a thing there where they made a decision to keep Bron and Rondo together and let Rondo kind of do his thing, and if need be, Bron can step in. If the shot clock gets down, there's another person on the floor that can maximize the end of that shot clock. Gary was I'm sorry, Straight Savage. Who do you like so far from the buyout market? I'm going to include potentials like a Mo Harkless. Right now, we've been having this discussion inside of the Showtime forum Slack as well. We're trying to figure that out. Deion Waiters looks good. He's looked good, but he's been a problem child. Been having some issues. My thing is that, on one side, if he's right and he's doing right, he's doing well. He's a tremendous guard to have. Not exactly the playmaker that we're looking for, because he's not really a dishing guard. He's much more of an attack slasher, scoring guard. And we really want somebody who's able to facilitate to get Kuzma going, get that second unit to be fluent, But he would still be a tremendous scorer off the bench who would be able to relieve some of that offensive pressure. And he's okay defensively. He's not a liability as much as Rondo is. So he's able to keep up. But everything would have to align right. The team culture would have to override his ability to wild out at times. And then to keep him in line. And then on the other side, you would have to really hope that his scoring just picks up from where he left off. He hasn't played a lot of games this season, so he's obviously still has some fresh legs, and he would be great energy. But there would be a lot of variables, and I think that's going to be part of the exploratory conversations. Talking about the minutes, talking about what his production looks like for the Lakers in his mind, and then us communicating to him what we ultimately need. The same way we did for Dwight, and the same way we did for Dwight, and giving him an opportunity and saying, this is what we need from you. Can you agree to this? If you can, we can give it a shot. And plus, once again, it's a really small contract because it's like the veteran men. I don't know what's going to happen, but Trey Burke is another opportunity guy. I know Mo Harkless is most likely going to get bought out. And that's another person you can have, who obviously knows the city and knows the Clippers, which would benefit you in a little bit. And you're not really looking for someone to come in and score as much as you're looking for someone to come in and facilitate. But Mo Harkless could potentially help you with that. So as far as I go, I'm all up in the air right now. My heart was set for Darren Collison. Darren Collison is not coming to the Lakers. He is staying retired. But the victory in that is that he's not going to the Clippers. And I'll take that. We're basically back at square one, and I'm fine with that. What we need to do, let's take a look at this. Let's look at the schedule coming up, so we can get a look at what games are coming up, because this was an easy one, but there's another set of games that are coming. Now we have one more game that's coming up that we should undoubtedly win, which should take us into 41-12, heading into the All-Star break. But let's look here. So the schedule here. So just kind of going through this real quickly. Right now we have Denver coming up next. And that game is going to be on Wednesday. So that game we're going to be at Denver. And that game we have the possibility of winning is really going to depend on how ready we are for that. How ready we are for that game. And is our mind focused before going into the All-Star break? Because once we get done on Wednesday, we don't play again for another week. We don't play again for another 9 days. Now, I know for us, a lot of us, if we went on vacation from our jobs like me, a week is cool. If I have 5 days off, that's cool. If I had 2 weeks off, that's real cool. But for an NBA player, 9 days is like a month, because it's so much that goes into getting ready for a game. We see them on game day. We see him on the post-game interviews and things like that, or the post-practice interviews. But the truth is, even the practices are not the totality of it. It's the prep that goes into it. How much time do you spend at the Lakers facility? And during this time, they're not near the Lakers facility. They are out. They're all with their friends. They're all out at the All-Star City, and they're enjoying it. They're enjoying it. They're having fun. They're releasing steam. It's getting back to the love of basketball. And it's that last little party before you get down to business. It's like, it's like Fat Tuesday. You know what I mean? It's like that thing that you do to prepare yourself before you're going for the long haul. And once we come out of that Denver game, okay, if we can win that Denver game, we'd be 41-12, and we had to go up against Memphis at home, Boston at home, New Orleans at home, back to Golden State, back at Memphis, back to New Orleans, and then we play the 76ers in March. So in the month of February, for the last few games of February, and we have 29 days in February this year, one of those games falls under the Memphis game, we should be able to beat the Pelicans. We should be able to beat the Warriors. We should be able to beat the Grizzlies, and we should be able to beat the Pelicans again. So those are 4 games that could push us. So that means you could be 45 and 12 heading into your. You could be 45 and possibly 13, depending on how the Boston game goes. Walking into your Philadelphia game. That's tremendous, guys. That's tremendous. If you can do that and then get into that next piece, the Philadelphia, Milwaukee, Clippers, Brooklyn, Houston, Denver, Utah stretch, then that gives you flexibility. Even if you get in there and you only win 5 out of the next 10 games, you still feel okay because you built the cushion. So that's why the month of February is huge for us. And we talked about this. The litmus test for them is going to be the Boston game on February 23rd because the All-Star break will be open, will be off, and then whoever we're going to sign, we may not have them signed by then. We have to have whoever we're going to sign has to be signed by March 1st in order for them to be eligible to play during the playoffs. So we may not have somebody signed by the 23rd, but I would imagine after this week we're going to know very clearly who we're going to sign. With the exploratory meetings that we're having. So by that time, by the 23rd, you really should have an idea of where you're headed. And if we win that game in Boston, that will not be a fluke. That will be a telltale sign. And I'm hoping and I'm praying that we knock them out the way that they knocked us out. Marquis Smith, you remember in the movie of Armageddon, Willis has a team of ragamuffins too. That's a great point, man. It's a completely unbelievable movie, but that's a good point. Donovan Bryant 8. Why didn't Caruso play tonight? I think it was in conjunction with what happened last night the last game where Caldwell Pope KCP only played 4 minutes, and Caruso got a lot more minutes than he normally would with KCP not really playing that game. And I think part of that was just a reversal of that. Plus, the units were working very well, and it really didn't make sense to bring anybody in to mess that up. I think Vogel had kind of found where Rondo was working effectively with the lineups, and he just didn't change it. And I think that's good, because normally there would have been a lot more platoon swaps with Caruso and things like that, but they didn't do it tonight because Rondo was doing what we need him to do. And so I think that's what's good about this team is that because nobody really has that ego, you're not going to hear Caruso or Rondo going, how come my minutes aren't, you know what I mean? There's some games where JaVale gets more minutes, like the last game, he had 21, and then Dwight only had 14. So there's going to be games where the bigs kind of swap out, games like this where you're going to have, some of the guards swapping out on their minutes. But I think what they're ultimately looking for is who's hot, who's hot. Marquis Smith, spring break, that's exactly what it is. J.R. Smith's tryout tomorrow, just no timeouts. Yeah, J.R. Smith. If I'm thinking correctly, J.R. Smith or Dion Waiters are probably going to be the 2 top candidates to be signed. I don't think Trey Burke's going to get signed, even though he's a possibility. I don't think Mar Harkless would be signed, only because of the connections, right? Dion Waiters has huge connections with Rob Pelinka. And then J.R. Smith obviously has history, knows how to play with LeBron in tough moments, right? He knows how to play with him in the playoffs and make playoff runs. That's very attractive, not just to the Laker organization, but to LeBron, right? I know they had their issue when they got to the finals, but this is a far different team. Because if you took that same team that was playing the Warriors with LeBron and put AD on that team, then we're not even talking about J.R. Smith's blunder. Because they would have won that series, in my opinion. But now you're going to add J.R. Smith to this team where the culture is great, the win record is great. There's not pressure that there was in Cleveland. We're trying to get our first championship. The pressure that we have here comes every year with the Laker brand, and so it really is, no joke. It really is a normality for us. In Cleveland, it was, man, all we got to do is get that first ring, and after that, nobody really cared. But for us, as Lakers, we are trying to get a 17th banner. That's all our head is on, and we're thinking about that. And after we get that 17th banner, we're going to be like, we want to get one more than the Celtics, right? So our brain is constantly thinking of the next. And so that pressure just comes with the Laker brand. That happens every game, every day, no matter where you're at. And they'll chant MVP for you on a meaningless game. We packed out Staples tonight for a Phoenix Suns game that had no DeAndre Ayton, and it was on a Monday night. And, and if anybody lives in LA, you guys live in LA, you know how hard it is to get to downtown LA off of that freeway? That's crazy. Off the 110 or off the 10, that's crazy. It's not going to work, right? But people were fighting through that because we believe in the Laker brand. So that pressure comes automatically. And I think J.R. Smith's will be great for that. March is a stretch. Yeah, March is more of a gauntlet. with the first part at least, with Philadelphia, Milwaukee, Clippers. I won't count Brooklyn, but Houston, Denver, Utah back to back. Like that's like a real gauntlet. And so by the time you get to the end and you start playing your Charlottes, your Detroits, we're on the road. We have a 7 game road trip at the end of March. Charlotte, Detroit, Toronto, Cleveland, Washington, Minnesota, and all of these teams can beat us. Okay, Charlotte can beat us. Devontae Graham. And those guys are doing great work. Detroit's a little bit different. I don't know if they can really beat us, but it's always a possibility. Toronto has been on a 15-game winning streak, so obviously they can beat us. Cleveland, we should win that game. Washington, we should win that game. Minnesota could be tough with D'Lo going over there, and it's just no telling what you're going to get with that team. So really, this is going to be one of those times where you're just looking at, man, I really hope we can get this going. But I want you to see the most important part is looking at the last set of games, right? April 7th. Our last game is April 15th. So the last games we have is Chicago, Golden State, Minnesota, Sacramento, and Phoenix. Ideally, those are the games that you want to have a record good enough that you can sit AD and you can sit LeBron. That's ultimately what you would want to be able to do is give them time to just kind of just chill out for those days. And I don't think anybody would have a problem with that. And those are nationally televised games on some of those games, but it doesn't matter, man. If we can get to April and we can look good in our record, then I think it's gonna bode well for us. And that really is it, guys. I was really proud of our win tonight. This is much more of a shorter broadcast tonight. It's a little bit late for me. It's 12:30 where I am here in Houston. But I appreciate everybody tuning in. Don't forget to follow Showtime Forum. If you don't follow them on Twitter, follow them on Twitter. If you don't follow them on Instagram, follow us on Instagram. We have great content that is coming out, and we are really getting ready and pumped up, getting ready for the playoffs. Our first time as an organization being able to cover the playoffs for the Laker organization, and we're extremely excited about that. So stick with us, stay with us, and remember, guys, Mamba out, but not forgotten. I'll check you guys later.